Oh, welcome to the museum. 1 second. Sorry, I was just looking at that map. Important to know where you're going these days, right? But what if you didn't care to know where you're going? What if you wanted to fill in the edges of the map? Well, for you wanderers out there, this ship is just for you. The Anvil Aerospace Carrack. Welcome to the museum. This is a series where I break down the lore of items, vehicles, and ships in sci-fi universes. If you enjoy this, please like the video and be sure to leave any other questions you have in the comments below on your way out. Remember that the museum is supported by your generous donations on Patreon, so think of supporting us there to keep these coming. The history of the Carrack begins in 2815 in the Tohill system. The UEEN cruiser Caraway was dispatched to chart unusual transmissions in an asteroid belt in the system. It never returned. Subsequent investigations found that the ship had been lost with all hands through an accident, which occurred thanks to lack of training. This loss embarrassed the Admiralty, who had been debating the merits of using warships as exploration vessels for some time. In response to the loss of the Caraway, they covered up the accident and finally decided to build an exploration ship. The Admiralty awarded a no-bid contract to Anvil Aerospace to build the UEE's first dedicated exploration vessel. The Carrack next shows up in 2822, fully ready for service on the landing pads of MACARTHUR Naval Base in the KILLIAN system. While it was classified as an exploration vessel from the start, the secrecy of its creation prompted many rumors. The scuttlebutt from this new Corvette-sized ship ranged from it being a platform for a new powerful bomb to it being a secret electronic warfare ship, all because of the impressive construction of the craft. With a crew of 6 and a mass of over 4,000 metric tons, she is slightly heavier than other ships of her class, built with all the amenities a crew would need to both research and explore for long stretches of time. With a length of 123.5 meters, a height of 30 meters, and a width of 63.5 meters, she is large enough to house a purpose-built shuttle, the Pisces, and has enough space for a heavy rover, while still being small enough to be capable of landing and taking off from almost any planetary surface. Overall, it is built to handle the hazards of the unknown, while thoroughly filling in the edges of the map. This secretly developed explorer would immediately draw the attention of the civilian market, with over 4,000 requests by individuals and groups interested in the ship in the first month of its operation with the military. Anvil Aerospace had a history of selling downgraded versions of its military craft quickly after their initial construction, so this was a reasonable request. After the initial 18-month production run was completed in 2825, Anvil requested the ability to build civilian models. To everyone's surprise, the response was no, on the grounds of the classified nature of the ship's development, specifically the Callaway cover-up. Not wanting to press the issue and risk their contracts with ships like the Hornet, Anvil relented and continued to build the Carracks for the military for the next century. The Carracks built for the military service were not formally given names, but designation letters and numbers, R for research and S for survey ships, with a leading 1 before the hull number designating the size of the Carrack, 65 meters or greater. The first Carrack was christened the R-11, but her crew informally called her the UEES Carrack. Her first mission was to make history. She traveled to the icy outer reaches of the KILLIAN system, its Oort cloud. This was further than any other ship had gone before in the KILLIAN system. They did this to map 37 distinct points of the cloud as part of a UEEN effort to construct a new type of early warning system to help protect the military installation on MACARTHUR. It seems that the survey indicated that this was folly, as no additional cloud surveys have ever been done since. The most mysterious military Carrack was the S-1132, known to her crew as the Good Queen 12, or GQ-12. She was assigned long-distance survey missions along the Xi'an border, formerly referred to as the Perry Line. In 2836, she checked in from an assigned patrol en route to the outer reaches of the Osiris system. It was the last communication from the GQ-12 that was ever recorded. The Carrack missed her next 2 scheduled check-ins, and the mission organizers dispatched search and rescue teams around her last known route. After extensive searches, nothing was found. No signs of combat, no debris, nothing. The GQ-12 had just vanished. It would be 30 years before the fate of S-1132 would be known. In 2866, on the lone moon of KYUK'YA 1A, a joint human and Geon system formerly known as the Indra system, a Carrack was sighted not acknowledging any comms attempts. When teams were dispatched to investigate, they found it was the missing GQ-12, a system away from its original patrol route. Not only that, but the ship was not a wreck, but mostly intact. Her systems were functional, medical supplies and food stores were still secured, but no sign of the missing crew. Theories abound about the fate of the GQ-12. Whatever happened, the crew remains missing to this day, almost a century later. Hundreds of Carracks continue to serve in the UEE Navy today, with some rumored to be operated by special forces and intelligence groups to perform covert operations. Still, it would take over a century from the first Carrack launched for the ship to end up in civilian hands. Sometime after the launch of the first Carracks, the officers involved in the cover-up of the UEES Callaway accident were exposed and ousted from their positions on the Admiralty. Yet even then, the Navy refused to allow Anvil Aerospace to produce civilian Carracks. Finally, in 2933, 110 years after the first mission of the UEES Carrack, did the military give the approval for Anvil to release a civilian model. They had several conditions, however, including a ground-up sensor software development and a requirement to build these civilian models in separate facilities from their military cousins. This was no small feat, and the designers and engineers at Anvil knew it. Still, the cries from the public for the Carrack had remained strong. The swap-over was complicated, as even small details like the dimensions of the loading ramp had to be swapped over from military to civilian manufacturing. As a result, Anvil ran a clever marketing campaign, encouraging prospective captains to place a deposit to ensure they would get the ship from the first production run of Carracks. This sparked what has been called the Carrack craze, as people purchased, sold, and traded their future Carracks. These new owners carefully followed the production updates of their ships through the various delays. Finally, the first civilian Carrack, later dubbed the Sunny Boy, was handed over to its new owner on February 21, 2938. Carrack user groups dubbed this day Carrack Day, and still annually celebrated as a holiday. Several of these Carracks gained equal fame as their military counterparts, as they helped explore and chart unknown space. The BOCACCIO was commissioned in 2940 and is Dr. LORRAINE Kent's famed exploration ship. Dr. Kent is an archaeologist specializing in discovering lost human ships. The BOCACCIO and her crew have been responsible for many discoveries, to which Dr. Kent has attributed to a combination of good archival research, expert surveying, and sheer luck. Just some of the BOCACCIO's discoveries have been the abandoned 22nd century pre-jump drive colony transport named the Zephyr, the wreck of the battlecruiser Braintree, and the impact site of the Spider Cat. Even today, Dr. Kent and her crew aboard the BOCACCIO continue their work, mostly focusing on extrasolar military remains from past conflicts. The GRONALD'S Hope is the most infamous Carrack ever built. It has the distinction of being one of the only vessels to earn the Kill on Sight order by the Advocacy. Built in 2948, the civilian ship was given a KOS order shortly after its launch. 3 days after the order was issued, the ship was sighted entering the Kellogg system and was intercepted and destroyed by a contingent of mercenaries. The details on why the order was given was never been released, but rumors are abound that the government had received reports that the crew had contracted some form of previously encountered plague, and the only option was to destroy the ship before it infected any population centers. Both civilian and military Carracks continue to operate today, making it one of the most popular exploration vessels in the verse. Carrack crews have quickly become the symbol for the kinder, gentler humanity that was envisioned after the fall of the Mezzers. Humanity's best, spacefarers dedicated to the noble and profitable goal of exploration for all, rather than just commerce or war. I want to thank you for coming to my museum. I also want to thank my Patreons on screen now for keeping the doors open. If you too want to see more exhibits like this in the future, consider becoming one yourself. Every little bit helps. Be sure to let me know what you think in the comments below, and as always remember, ex historia ad astra.